What is going on, guys? It is Wrestlelamia here, back with some more news. Join us now as we look at the wildest news stories and rumors you need to know, including WWE making big changes, more releases coming, Edge was against Judgment Day plans, WWE forming a new women's tag team, a superstar upset, and much more. Be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell for daily wrestling videos, and follow us on Facebook for exclusive lists. Also check out Wrestlelamia.co.uk and on our wrestling channel, Incredible. And now let's do the intro and get straight into our first story. Now, first story is WWE making big changes. Atop in today's news is a report that WWE is in fact changing things up on Raw following Cody's injury. Ringside News recently tweeted, "I was told that lots of changes were made to Raw once Cody was injured, and that's understandable. I was told that the roster needed to be shifted. It was clear as early as Hell in a Cell that the WWE was scrambling to realign its top babyfaces on Raw when it learned about Rhodes' injury and likely he'd be out for several months. After Lashley's win over MVP and Omos at Hell in a Cell, the Almighty teased he's going for the Undisputed Championship when he grabbed a fan's replica belt and pointed to it. The current crisis has less to do with Cody's injury than its own short-sighted booking. The WWE has failed to build new stars while making main eventers look weak against Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns. This absence of top babyfaces and heels is apparent in light of Rhodes' injury and Reigns' absence. Vince McMahon's insistence on going for short-term gains in his booking over long-term ones is coming back to haunt him. Unfortunately, the WWE's continued profits likely make it difficult for Vince to appreciate the gravity of the situation. Now, on a brighter note, Cody's unfortunate injury could turn into a blessing for the WWE, as Cody's absence makes it realize its lack of true stars. Well, at least as far as they're booked, and it will begin pushing new talent and previously neglected talent. But whilst we're on the subject of Cody, this is what his injury looks like now. Damn. Next up, Edge was against Judgment Day plans. Now, as fans continue to talk about the Judgment Day sensational turn on Edge, details are emerging on the WWE's original idea for the group and Edge's call to nix the plan. A report from Fightful Select reports WWE had mentioned taking Judgment Day a supernatural route, which Edge was said to have been opposed to. Word started to emerge in the afternoon hours ahead of WWE Raw that a big shift involving Finn Balor and Edge was set to happen. While the Judgment Day has definitely dark elements to the group, the WWE avoided going the supernatural route, which might have worked, but in hindsight didn't seem necessary, as Edge, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley did a superb job getting over as an immoral assembly of antagonists on the Red brand. Fightful also reported that although that was firmly set on Monday, the pitch to have Balor as a member of Judgment Day came well before that. Fightful sources have indicated to us the week prior that Balor was set to turn heel and join the group days before Hell in a Cell. However, there was no mention at the point of Edge leaving the group. So what's next for Edge? Speaking of the Judgment Day, what's next for the group's former leader Edge? Well, according to a recent report from PW Insider, Edge has been officially moved to the babyface side of the Raw roster. That's no shocker, as the WWE tends to avoid heel versus heel battles. We recently discussed Edge's dilemma in our analysis of this week's Raw, pointing out how many times Edge has bounced back and forth between working as a face and a heel since his 2020 return. It'll be fascinating to see how the fans react initially when Edge returns, and whether wrestling's rated R superstar can woo the fans back. As for when he returns, nothing has been mentioned, but Edge did do a stretcher job, something which could give him a storyline reason to stay off television for some time. With Edge having a very limited TV and match schedule, it could be some time before he returns, or could be back in time for SummerSlam or even Money in the Bank. When do you think Edge will return, and how will the fans react to yet another face turn? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, WWE forming a new women's tag team. Could Liv Morgan be back in the tag team ranks again? Morgan, who's recently teamed with Rhea Ripley only for Ripley to turn on her, has been busy seeking revenge on the Nightmare, but a recent performance in a match on this week's Raw has led to speculation she could be forming a new tag team. Now, in case you missed it, Liv Morgan battled Alexa Bliss, Doudrop and Rhea Ripley to determine Bianca Belair's opponent for Money in the Bank. Sportskeeda noted that while Ripley won the match, Bliss and Morgan worked together throughout the match and seemed to enjoy it. The commentary and the company's social media also seem to be pushing the audience towards the idea of the two forming a team. Now, the WWE's women's division needs teams, especially if it plans on holding a tournament to crown the new women's tag team champions. While Alexa Bliss may seem like too big of a star to work in the tag division, she wouldn't be the first women's champion to hold tag team gold. In fact, Bliss does well at tag team wrestling, as seen in her 2 reigns as women's tag team champion alongside Nikki Cross. While Liv has been doing an excellent job alongside AJ Styles against the Judgment Day, her singles career options seem limited other than her feud with Rhea Ripley. Likewise with Alexa Bliss, who's been given a notable push since returning this year, but who doesn't seem to have a singles program right now. A Bliss and Morgan team could be fun for the fans and give both superstars something to do. Naturally, this depends on how much the WWE decides to push its tag team championship division, assuming it brings the belts back. But would you guys like to see Bliss and Morgan team up? Let us know in the comments down below. Next up, a WWE Superstar Upset. Now it seems that Carmella is upset with being omitted from an advertisement for an upcoming fan festival, as well as possibly being upset with her current spot in WWE. Wrestling Inc. reported WWE announced another fan convention in Chantilly, Virginia, which is expected to be a more sports-orientated affair with appearances from the Bellas, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, Rey Mysterio Jr., Liv Morgan and Kevin Owens. Although Carmella has been announced internally for the Virginia event, she was not featured on the poster or tagged in WWE's tweet, which seemed to rub her the wrong way. Fan exposés can be a great way for fans to meet their favorite superstars and for wrestlers to interact with the fans, so it's understandable why Carmella would be upset if her fans didn't even know she was appearing on the show, or worse, that she wasn't seen as an attraction worth mentioning. But that's not all. The former SmackDown Women's Champion, Women's Tag Team Champion, two-time 24/7 Champion and 2017 Money in the Bank winner agreed with a fan who tweeted, "They always forget about you and I'm sick of it. Give Mella a mic and let her tell you how she really feels." Now, it wasn't that long ago that Carmella held the Women's Tag Team Championships with Zelina Vega. Regrettably, whatever plans they had for the two went on the back burner when Vega took time off for surgery. Since then, she's been idle. Next up, more WWE releases. There's more news that WWE has set the bar high for its NXT superstars and that if they don't show improvement, they're out the door. Brian Alvarez recently discussed this during an episode of the Brian and Vinny and Granny and Craig show, reporting, "You know what I heard today? I don't have all the details, but with the NXT 2.0, they got a new deal where you got 6 months to get better in this program here. Who in the world could possibly get better in 6 months working no shows and just doing horrible stuff on television?" While Alvarez may have a point, the reality is that WWE has so many new recruits coming in that it's a buyer's market when it comes to talent. He described the evaluation process for NXT 2.0 performers saying, "Every 6 months they evaluate you, and if you ain't getting better, then you're like done for," and apparently they've made some evaluations including some names you would know. So we might get some changes coming to NXT 2.0, not a cancellation, some people might be cancelled. Should fans expect more releases? Well, considering how many superstars who were axed in 2021, it's no stretch to say that no one is safe. And finally, a main roster star shows up on NXT. And last but not least, it looks like Apollo Crews is back on NXT. But not only that, but the former US champion and Intercontinental champion has ditched his Nigerian Prince gimmick as well as his henchman Commander Aziz. Crews showed up on the 7th June episode of NXT congratulating NXT champion Bron Breakker on all he's accomplished and calling Bron one of the best stars of WWE today. Crews told the fans he left NXT way too soon and that he has things he wants to do, including having a future match with Breakker. Crews appears to be a babyface now, but we'll have to wait and see whether this stays the case. While he was doing well on Raw and SmackDown after winning the US and Intercontinental Championship, his career started to cool off in 2021 despite his Nigerian Prince gimmick and the addition of Aziz. Perhaps Crews can reignite his career on NXT 2.0 much like Mandy Rose has done. But there you have it folks, the wildest news stories and rumours you need to know. Be sure to leave your comments down below and I'll see you next time with some more wrestling content.